everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of Lavender Cottage Fibre Arts podcast. I'm Pia.
My name's Anna.
And this is Julie, who's kind of poking her head in just for a little guest appearance. And we are sisters from Melbourne or Naarm in Australia, and this is our podcast about all things fibre arts. So knitting, crochet, sewing, sometimes embroidery, and also some other bits of different arts and crafts.
Just whatever we dabble in, but at the moment I'm mostly a knitter and you're mostly a sewer, but I guess like a lot of crafty people would know that kind of ebbs and flows between different crafts. Yep.
Yes. So before we get into our podcast, we would just like to acknowledge that we are recording this podcast on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional owners of this land, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also extend that to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are watching this video.
I think it has been, I know we only uploaded our last episode a couple of weeks ago, but we actually recorded it a couple of months ago. So, it might seem that we've finished a lot of stuff in very little time, but in the real world, it's actually been, a couple of months.
Yeah.
So, I guess we have a few bits and pieces to share. And we will start off with what I'm wearing, because we're both wearing me-made items, I guess. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, so my me-made item is this t-shirt. So I finally took the plunge into the world of sewing with stretch fabrics. So I purchased an overlocker probably a few months ago now, and started out doing some, I did some like kids t-shirts, which I've got some of those to show for FOs, but I've also been doing some t-shirts for me and also for our mum. So the pattern is the Jane t-shirt from Seamwork, which is just sort of a fairly basic kind of relaxed fit crew neck t-shirt. And the fabric is from the Summer Abroad collection. I can't remember specifically the name of this one, but it's from the Summer Abroad collection, which was from I think her sort of business name is Sew to Grow, and that was a collab with Devonstone fabrics.
So where did you actually buy the fabric in Melbourne?
No, I bought it online from Fabric Pixie. But
okay.
I think there are a few, like I think Sew to Grow, she does have like a website where she sells like sewing kits and things like that, but I don't think she actually sells her fabric on her website. So, but if you just Google like Summer Abroad Devonstone collection or something like that, you'll find there's a few different stockists. I think the collection was released a little while ago, so I did have to look around for a few different places to find the one that I was looking for. Nice. But so this is just like I think just sort of like a fairly standard like 95% cotton, 5% spandex jersey type material. I think in the collection they also had some poplins, like cotton poplin, and also some prints were available in like a cotton drill as well. But so they not all the prints were available in all the different fabric bases, but I just like this one, and I was actually like fairly pleased with how the sort of stripe matching turned out, because I guess because it's kind of like wavy lines, I did find like folding the fabric to get it like on grain and like make sure the stripes were going sort of straight was a bit challenging because of it's wavy. Like it's not like with a sort of straight stripe that you can really match up exactly. But I think I'm like fairly pleased with, like you can see on the sleeve that, for example, like if you look at the darkest, like the red one, that it kind of seems to be going across, and this one is sort of like going across like on the, because I guess that's where you'd mainly see like if the stripes didn't match up, and like down the side, like it's not like with a horizontal stripe that you will get the seam to basically look like one continuous line. I think with this sort of like wavy thing, I think that would just be far too hard to like,
you would have to compromise on the sizing then.
Yes, that you would have to either make it like narrower or wider to get the sort of
hitting
waves
at either
to
the peak or the trough or whatever.
Exactly match up. But I think I mean, I guess this thing that's kind of under your arm most of the time, like probably people aren't super like paying attention to that. So I think it looks fine. So yeah, I was fairly happy with how that turned out. And so I use like the overlocker to do like to basically sew everything, and then I just use a twin needle to do like sew down the seam allowance on the neckband so it doesn't kind of flip out. And then I also did the twin needle technique to do the hems on the sleeves and the bottom hem. Yeah. So that was what I'm wearing / FO.
Nice. So what I'm wearing is the sweater or jumper that I'm wearing. So I did have this as a whip in our previous episode, and I think I was about maybe 3/4 done in our previous episode. So this is called the Finch Sweater, and it's a test knit that I did for her sort of designer name is dalbodreh, which I think I looked up means soft and cute in Korean because she's from South Korea, and her name is Soomin Ahn. So the test is finished and the pattern is now available to purchase, and I think she had a good reception to the pattern when it was released, because I know she was updating us in the in the tester group chat on Instagram. She did she was donating a percentage of sales from the pattern to a local food bank, and she updated us on how much money she ended up raising. So I think nice. So I think she did have some quite a few people that were interested in the pattern. So I guess this sweater, it was quite different for me in terms of the construction. I've just never knit a sweater flat. I have knit a sweater flat before, but not in the same way, I guess. So because this is half fisherman's rib, there's actually less purling to do if you knit it flat than if you knit it in the round. So that's why she made the decision to, I guess, have it knit flat. So you kind of knit the back panel the whole way down, and then you pick up along the shoulders and do each of these sections, and then join at here and then knit the front. And then you pick up for the sleeves around these sort of spots where she tells you where to place these stitch markers, so you know where to pick up for the sleeves, but you still knit the sleeves flat. And then so at the end what you actually do is seam basically from here all the way through down to here.
That's the same way that you would sew like a t-shirt, that you sew like the front and back together along the shoulder seam, and then you sew the arm, like the sleeve piece on, and then you sew all the way in one continuous thing. So the only thing that is knit in the round actually is the ribbing on the neckband. If I made this again, I probably would actually also join in the round and do the ribbing on the sleeve cuffs and the hem. I would knit that in the round just because I think it would maybe make this edge slightly more sturdy, and I don't know, I just don't like seaming things, so even having to seam
like an inch or whatever,
fewer stitches
would make me happy. But overall it's like a really nice sort of almost like I would describe this as almost like a tracksuit kind of feel sweater, that it's just like very comfy, a little bit oversized but not kind of massively so, but I think the details that she's put on the how you do the increases, that they kind of like flow into the ribbing, looks quite neat, really sort of professional. I'm really happy with it. So I think whilst it is really sort of like comfy kind of vibes of like wearing it, you feel very comfortable, like you could just kind of laze around at home, I think you can wear it out and it looks still really kind of put together, nice, and things like that. So I'm very happy with it. I knit the size 5. The only modification that I did was I sized down to a 3.5mm needle, which is normal for me if it's a DK weight yarn. And speaking of yarn, the yarn I used was from Chaska, and it's called their Wara DK, and the colorway is 605. I think they just give them numbers. And this one is a blown yarn, so it's like a cotton tube that then the fibres are blown into the cotton tube. So the blend, and I'll put in the description box the exact breakdown. I can't remember, but it's Pima cotton, Merino and Alpaca. So it's very soft, but I guess the blown yarn, it's quite lightweight, even though it's quite sort of squishy and it feels quite warm. It's not sort of a heavy jumper to wear. So yeah, that is my what I'm wearing. I think that's probably all I have to say about that. So yeah, this one, the pattern, if you wanted to make it for yourself, is now available. Yes. Cool. So I think now we'll jump into our normal segments. Yep. Of FOs, whips, and plans. Okay, I'll pat you and do hooks at the same time. So our first section, that we call it hot off the hooks, but it really is hot off the needles, hot off the sewing machine, hot off the card making table, hot out of the kiln, just whatever we have, whatever crafts we've been doing. So I think Pia's is mainly hot off the sewing machine.
Yes. So I have a couple of things to show. The first one, I think in one of our previous episodes I did have this as a dream weaving, but I purchased a kit to at the craft and quilt fair to make a pair of quilted shoes, and so I finished my first pair of quilted shoes. So it's got this sort of like kind of jewel toned fabric. I bought this fabric in a kit from the shop. It was all a kit with the sole, so I don't actually know like the name of this fabric or what designer it's from, but I just thought it was nice. And then a sort of like contrasting fabric for kind of the tongue section. So yeah, I obviously made two of them because for
and what's
two
the
shoes.
lining? Is it just sort of pink? Or?
The lining I think is just sort of a fairly plain like blend of fabric in like a sort of complementary kind of pinky sort of colour.
Yeah.
And then these kind of sparkly purple laces, and that came in the kit as well. So the kit, I can link the store where I got the kit from, but I think it's called Kadina Craft Store. Like it's a craft shop in South Australia, but they do post as well. I bought this kit at the show, but they do have postage. And so the kit came with the soles, the fabric for the outer, the lining and the tongue, the laces. It came with the eyelets and also the tools that you need to like punch the holes for the eyelets and set the eyelets as well. And it also came with a tailor's awl, which is what you use for doing the like stitching the upper to the sole. And it came with a roll of the waxed thread, because you obviously need fairly like strong thread to attach the
So that bit you do actually by hand?
Yes, but the upper is like machine, like you could sew it by hand I guess if you wanted to, but the upper is machine quilted. I just do it on my sort of normal basic sewing machine, and I think you can use basically any kind of woven fabric for the upper. Maybe like very sort of thin fabric like muslin would be too thin, and like I don't think any sort of like stretch fabrics would work, but like quilting cotton you could use like drill, you could use canvas. I think I've seen, because she's got like a Facebook group where people like post pictures of their finished products. I think I've seen maybe one or two people who've done it with some sort of like vinyl sort of looking thing to have sort of like a faux leather kind of effect.
Silk?
I don't think you would have silk shoes.
I think you get like evening shoes.
Okay. And the sort of what gives a kind of structure to the shoe is like a foam interfacing, which I use Legacy Flex foam that I just got from Spotlight, which is like it's fusible on one side. So that was quite easy, that you iron the fabric onto one side and then you do your quilting, so that the fabric kind of stays in place. But I think you can use any sort of like foam kind of interfacing. So that's that. And then I had enough kind of fabric left over from my shoes to actually make a matching bag as well. So I just made like a little crossbody bag. So it's fairly simple. It's just got like the main compartment there and then like a little zip pocket at the front for something small like keys or something. So So yeah, and this sort of matching shoes and bag I actually entered in the Lilydale show, which is like a agricultural show that has a craft competition. And so my handbag won 3rd prize ribbon in the bag section. And I think there was actually 9 entries, so I was kind of proud of that because I'm obviously quite beginner. So coming 3rd out of 9, I thought was all right. And then my shoes, I entered the shoes in, they didn't have like a category for shoe making. So I just entered, I mean, the Roll Melbourne show might, some bigger shows might. I just entered it in the category for sort of like miscellaneous sewing item, and it won 2nd prize in that category, although there were only 2 entries. But I don't think I came like last, because I think they do say like the judges have the right to not award a ribbon if they don't feel that there is anything in the category worthy of a ribbon. So I think if they thought that my shoes weren't that good, they would have just not awarded a prize at all. So I'm still proud of getting a 2nd prize ribbon, even though...
Oh, and to be honest, I think in that other category, because the other entry that got the 1st prize, I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it was a jacket, I think. So I think just like, how do you judge a jacket compared to a pair of shoes? Like, I think maybe in that other category, when there can be any type of... It probably is quite hard. I mean, I guess they may have just like a point scoring system. Yeah. And then whoever gets the most points, I honestly don't know how the judging works.
Yeah, because I guess if they're judging it on your sort of like technical skills, like, yeah, it's just like completely sort of different techniques. But so I haven't actually worn these yet because I was trying to keep them in sort of like pristine condition to submit to the show, because I don't think you could submit something that had already been worn. Especially with shoes, I guess it would be quite obvious from the soles if they've been worn. But I think the main thing that I do want to do before I start wearing these is get some sort of like Scotch Guard or like waterproofing spray. I think partially to just make them a bit water repellent, but I think also that will help to maybe keep them clean as well. If you step in like a dirty puddle or something like that, that the water kind of runs off rather than soaking into the fabric. The other thing that I do want to do is, well, like when I've tried them on, I don't know if it's just the shape of my foot or maybe the way I sewed the tongue in was like a little bit off center, but the tongue seems to like drift outwards. So I have seen a few people who've made them with a little like loop of fabric on the tongue that you thread the laces through, and that to kind of like hold.
If you maybe hold the shoe this way.
Yeah, so have like a loop of fabric there that, like, I think a lot of shoes do have that, like just shoes that you can buy to keep the tongue in place. And I have also seen some people just tack like a few little hand stitches just at the sides there, because the tongue just kind of, also see if I can kind of like push it to sort of show like when your foot is in it, that sometimes it can kind of like the tongue kind of like I'm probably not showing it very well, but it kind of bulges out a little bit and it just looks a bit funny. So I think I might just do the little tab for the laces to go through first and see if that fixes it. And then if not, I can also have a go at the other option. And so I did actually end up making a 2nd pair. So this is my 2nd pair, and so this fabric is from the Tiny Beasts collection from Tula Pink, and courtesy well, that was the designer, but courtesy from Anna's fabric stash. So I'm very thankful for her letting
but to be honest, I mean, you should say this as well, these actually don't take that much fabric. Like,
no, like I think less than a fat quarter, like depending on how, I guess if you want to like have certain design elements in the shoe, like you might have to use a bit more fabric to get the pattern pieces placed correctly, and
a little bit, I guess, depending on the size of the shoe. But
yeah, and like, so for the tongue I just used I can't remember what this was also a Tula Pink one, I can't remember what collection that was from, but it's just this sort of like rainbow gradient of like dots and crosses. But I think the dot color, I think, because I suppose for a lot of these designers,
they're coordinating.
They're meant to sort of coordinate. And then I just used kind of like a blender gingham type quilting fabric, which I think is just from Spotlight.
Oh, that was just a fat quarter from Spotlight.
Yeah, but I think it matches like fairly well.
It does too.
I would maybe like to get some like maybe some sort of like pastel colored, like I just used like normal white shoelaces that I pinched off another pair of shoes that I already owned, just to wear them, because I wore them today actually, and they're quite comfortable. But yeah, I think the tongue I noticed was just bulging out a little bit, particularly I think on one of the shoes. So I might I'll do the sort of the little tab thing for the laces to see if that fixes it, but if not, I might just do a couple of hand stitches to kind of tack that down.
These are really cute.
Yes, I'm quite happy with these. So I do, I have a pair of purple soles as well that I would like to do maybe a sort of purple themed shoe.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when Pia was looking through my fabric stash, she was like, "Oh, these would make great shoes. These," and I was like, "Yes, I agree with all of these, but like, you probably don't need like 25 pairs of shoes." No. Because I suppose like it's not like clothing that you obviously have to like wash it every time you use it, kind of thing. But yeah. So, anyways, I found this quite a fun project, and like I would highly recommend if someone's just looking for a project that's a little bit different. But I think it is like adventurous, beginner friendly. Like the actual sewing of the uppers is not difficult. Like it's just sort of like machine sewing, and then stitching the uppers to the sole. Like it takes a little while to get the hang of using the awl, but like I think once you've got the hang of it, it's fairly it takes a little while because it's hand stitching and you have to use like a reasonable amount of force, I guess, to go through the rubber. But I thought that the sort of video tutorials that are available are quite easy to follow. And yeah, like I think you could finish a pair of shoes in a weekend kind of thing. Nice.
As just sort of like a fun... And the shoes themselves are actually quite comfortable as well, because I guess that's the other important thing. There's no point
I guess a lot of that comes down to the sole, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. The comfort probably mainly comes from how sort of cushiony the rubber sole is.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to do next?
Oh, yeah, maybe this one. So then this is a little bag that I made myself, just sort of like a sling kind of bag that you put on like over your front like this. And I made it for walking... this little one here, taking Julie for a walk. She can probably, I think she knows what's in the bag, because so the bag, it has this like embroidered patch on the front that just says "Love Dogs." So this embroidered patch, I obviously didn't make myself. I purchased this, but then I thought it would be cool to like use to decorate a bag. And then because it's an iron-on patch, I thought maybe I should make something myself. One, to make it sort of a size that fits the patch, and also I wanted the size to be able to fit my phone in there, but also because I wasn't sure, I feel like a lot of like bags, like if you just buy like a little backpack or whatever, are probably made of nylon, so I wasn't too sure like because you obviously have to use quite a bit of heat to like melt the glue on the patch, if that could actually melt the bag. So I made this just out of like a plain cotton drill fabric. And so it just has like a zipper at the top. I used like bias tape on the insides to cover the seams, and this I use the same sort of like foam interfacing just to give it a bit of structure. There's just like a little internal pocket that I just put my keys in there, and then my phone fits in there. And then the last sort of like feature of it, I guess, is I made this little elasticated like pocket pouch on the back to have in there. Dog treats for when I'm walking Julie, so she can have a treat now because she's being very, very good.
Where does the poo bags go, or you have them on her lead?
I usually have the poo bags on her lead, but I can fit like a spare roll of poo bags in there as well, so just to be able to fit a couple of little things. So yeah, like I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. I think the hardest part for me was sewing this zip that's on this like curved seam. That was like kind of challenging. So I guess that's probably just something that takes more practice. But like I think with something like this, even if it doesn't look 100% perfect, like it has a functional, practical use as well. So I feel like I'm okay with it not being... She definitely knows what's in here.
Yeah, you can have some more later, Julie.
Yeah, you can have some later. Maybe if we go for a walk later, you can have some treats from your little treat bag. Oh, she's so funny.
All right,
and then my last
series
of FOs is actually we're going to one of our friends' kids' first birthday party this afternoon, right after we finish this. So I made for him some little t-shirts.
You made a gift sack, first of all.
Yes. So this is just sort of like some cotton that I got from a place that I'll mention maybe when I do the dream weaving, but a place in Ivanhoe. And just so I just got this sort of like, it's just sort of like embroidered, I guess, or woven with these kind of bright colors. I thought was quite cute to make like a little fabric just drawstring bag as like a reusable gift bag. So yeah, that's
just as like a slightly more environmentally friendly option to wrap in paper.
Yes, but I guess that you still have the sort of like fun surprise element of the person not knowing exactly what's inside kind of thing.
All right, and then so let's hold up the t-shirts.
Yes, so to go inside the bag, I made some little t-shirts, kids' t-shirts.
And go closer one at a time. So this is like a turtle one.
And then this one is like geckos or lizards.
This one is like a little fruit salad t-shirt.
And then we have little animals. So there's like koalas. I think it's a numbat, a kangaroo, a kookaburra, and a echidna.
And the last one is various types of beetles.
So the name of the pattern escapes me, but I will remember or find out and put a link in the description. But that was actually a free pattern. And so if you do have kids t-shirts to sew, I thought it was quite a good pattern because I think it has from size 0 up to I want to say maybe 6, like 0 as in newborn, all the way up to 6 months old.
6 months?
6 years old. And they had options
they all fit in there like that. Yeah.
And they had options for, I think, a long sleeve and also a short sleeve. So yeah, I thought it was quite versatile, and it was actually a free pattern as well. So yeah, I'll definitely dig up the link for that, and we can put it in the description if anyone is looking for a fairly easy sewing pattern for some kids' t-shirts. The main thing that I did find, I think, just from some feedback from a couple of people who I've already given things to, is maybe the length was just a little bit long, and they're maybe just like slightly on the large size for the sizing they gave. But in some ways, I guess for kids stuff, it's probably not the end of the world if something's slightly too big than
yeah,
that it's just like room to grow into them, and yeah, better than be a bit too big than a bit too small. So yeah, and the final whip, FO, just because I feel like I've shown so far is sewing. The last one that I don't have photos of, don't have physically because I've already given it as a gift, but I can put some photos in. I made a tote bag for my work friend Caroline, and the fabric was just this sort of like, I would say it's like, if anyone who's from Australia, it kind of had sort of like Gorman vibes, like just like a print of these sort of birds and flowers that looked quite cool. And then, but the sort of like cool, I guess, aspect of it was I happened to have a like card making, like embossing folder and stencil set that was very sort of like on the theme, or like very similar to the actual print of the fabric. So I made like a matching tote bag and then a matching birthday card to go with it. So I'll put photos of that. Yeah,
cool. All right, so in terms of FOs, apart from this, I have 3. And actually they're all test knits and they're all socks, and this was a test knit as well. So all I've been doing lately is test knits really. So I'll get them out of their little bag. So I will do it in sort of the chronological order of when I finished them, I guess. So this first one, I believe I had it as a hoe or a half finished object in our last episode. So these are the Sirotto, I'm not entirely sure the pronunciation, socks from Ali of the Fiberbound podcast. So this one now is available as a pattern to purchase. I would call, this is kind of what I call like not quite vanilla socks. So it is a fairly it's kind of a vanilla sock, but with a textured sort of pattern on the top of the foot and the leg. It's very easy. Like the repeat is very easy to memorize. So I think anyone who can knit vanilla socks, you would definitely be able to make these. And I think it looks, looking at different, like the different people who tested it, it looks quite good in just like a tonal or semi-solid, but it also works quite well in a sort of a lightly, like a speckled yarn as well. So if you have a skein of speckled yarn that you didn't want to do just straight vanilla socks, I think this would be a good choice. So the yarns that I used, I just did, I think, 3 rounds of a different colour at the cuff, just, I don't know, for a bit of fun. So this was from Hedgehog Fibres, just a little leftover I had called not Hedgehog Fibres, Hodgepodge skeins. Sorry, I always get them confused. Pink Funk was the colourway of the little colour pop at the cuff, and then the rest of the sock I knit in a birthday cake from Sian's Yarns. So I just thought, because Ali's from Adelaide, I would use a yarn from an Adelaide based dyer that I actually bought in Adelaide. So this was
did you buy that when we went to Adelaide?
Yeah, when we went to Fibre Feast. Yes, these are my Sirotto or Sirotto
Maybe you can
socks.
wear them when we go to Adelaide next year.
Yes. Oh, what we're thinking of going to Adelaide again. What was that for? I've forgotten.
There's going to be an exhibition at the art gallery in Adelaide that I think is like all these paintings on loan from an art museum somewhere in the States. I thought it was Boston, but I don't know why I thought that. But somewhere in the States. So I guess like paintings that you, unless you travel to the States, probably would not be able to see. And I think like fairly sort of famous, like Monet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Suzanne, is that how you pronounce that? French name, Matisse. Like I think some fairly
I suppose
very famous
we
artists.
probably won't be lucky enough that it will be on at the same time as Fibre Feast, though. Or does it go for several months?
It does, but I think it starts like in the middle of the year. It goes from sometime in maybe about July until November.
Very inconsiderate of them. Just kidding. All right. So this is my next FO, my next pair of socks. So these are the Adelaide socks, and this was a test that I did for Kath Martin, who's the Mindful Melbourne maker. And she designed this sock pattern, I guess, with in mind that people could use leftovers from Advents. Because I think often, if you knit a shawl or something like that with an Advent, you often end up with a few grams of each colour left over. So she actually designed the sock in mind that you could use 24 sort of scraps and then a main colour. Or you could use 12, or you could use, you can use whatever you like, but basically there's 6 of these textured sections on the leg and 6 on the foot, and then because you've got 2 socks, that adds up to 24. So I didn't have Advent leftovers. I was just using some scraps, socks from scraps that I had left over from other socks that I had knit. So I decided to use 6 colours, and so I would use each set of colours twice, so once on the leg, once on the foot, and then I'd do the same on the other sock. But what I've done, I hope you can see, is that I've kind of jittered the order on both between the socks, but also between the leg and the foot. So each sock has each colour twice, but actually no colour is used for the same stitch texture twice, which I think is cool because you can see that I guess some of the textures are more obvious with certain with lighter colours, or some of them the speckles are less obvious with speckled ones. And so in terms of the yarns that I used, some of them I know what they are and others I have no idea. So I can just let you know, for the main colour that I used for the cuff, the heel and the toe, that one is from Passion Flower and the colourway is called You're Turning Violet Violet. This brown colour here is from Fluff and Nonsense and that colourway was called Cocoa. This sort of mauvey one that has a few little speckles is from Giddy Yarns and it's called Dusk. And this white colour that is actually sort of, quite variegated, sort of blues, purples, greens. They're all, apart from the brown, I think have some purple in them. That one, I guess maybe this side is a good representation of all the different colours in that variegated one. That one's from Dream in Colour and the colourway is called Below Horizon. But this really dark purple, this lighter one and this darker one here, I have no idea what they are. They were just, I think they were actually minis that I had in my stash, but I don't, I obviously at one point knew where they came from, but I don't know where they're from anymore. So But yeah, I like this, you know, and I think it looks cool with the same colours used in the two socks, but them used in different orders. I'm quite happy with how they turned out. So it's a good, I guess, good pattern if you have small amounts of different colours that you want to use up. But some of the testers actually did knit, apart from the cuff, the heel and the toe, they knit the whole sock in one colour. And that actually looked quite cool as well. I guess then that's more highlighting the different textures rather than the different colours. And then so my last pair of socks, which is also a test knit, this is the ones that I finished most recently. These were a test knit that I did for Jamie of Jamie Creates. And these are the Happy Hour socks. So she's got, I think, a top... maybe I think she's got a top and a sort of a vest, like a bulkier weight, like more like a jumper kind of weight vest with this stitch pattern. So now she's released, the pattern hasn't come out yet, but it's soon to be released in a sock. So these I knit with Rainbows and Sprinkles luscious sock yarn, and the colorway is called Artemis, but it's from a couple of years ago, so I don't think she has this colorway anymore. And again, I think this pattern looks quite nice in a solid, but it also looks nice in not a super variegated, but just like a lightly speckled colorway. So you basically have these traveling cables with slip stitches and then reverse stockinette. So I will say about this sock, there's a lot of purling, so if you hate purling, you may not enjoy knitting this sock, but I personally don't have an issue with purling. And I think the cable, like there's a chart in the pattern, but I wouldn't say the pattern is easy to memorize, but once you've knit one repeat of it, it's quite intuitive. Like you can kind of just see where the cables are traveling and see, all right, now I've got a, you know, cable, do a left cross or a right cross. Like it is obvious where you're going. So you kind of don't have to be referring to the chart constantly. After you've done one repeat, I think you kind of, don't really need the chart anymore. So yeah, that was those ones. With all of my socks, I always knit them on 2mm needles. So I think in the Happy Hour socks, that was actually what was recommended in the pattern, but the other two was recommended to knit them on a 2.25, but I usually size down. But I think Jamie is also quite a loose knitter, so I was pretty close to getting gauge with the 2mm. So yeah. The only thing about these socks that I think I probably would do differently if I knit them again, this one has a short row heel. I just find for my foot, I think my instep is a little bit too high, that I find socks with a short row heel are a little bit tight across my ankle. So if I knit this one again, I think I would knit it just with a heel flap and gusset. I think just for my foot, I think that gives me a better fit. Either that or I would do some increases on the back of the leg. So I would have like a slightly deeper, like before I start the heel. So I would have a deeper heel. That would be what I would do differently if I made these again. And again, I guess that's just my particular foot anatomy. And I think a lot of people who knit socks know that that is something that, you know, you figure out what types of heels and toes and things like that work for you. And it is, once you've knit enough socks, it's pretty easy to substitute a different heel or toe depending on what you find suits your foot best. So I think that is all of our finished objects. So now we'll get on to talking about our whips. Hi, I'm Julie. I don't have any FOs, but I'm still really cute. Yeah, you are, Julie. That's true. Want to be in the podcast? Yes, please. We may have to do some negotiations. Some treat-based negotiations. Julie, the treat bag is over here now. Cool, so now it is time for Whip It Good, which is where we share our whips WIP being an acronym of work in progress. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I just have two things to show. So the first one is another gift for the baby whose first birthday we're going to this afternoon. But like, I'm obviously not going to finish this in time, so I think this will just be a Christmas gift instead, which is fine. So I just made these like fabric letters, and it's just got a bit of I just use like a bit of cotton quilt wadding in there to give it a bit of kind of structure. And then you can see around the edge that I've used like a pom-pom kind of trim as well. And I did that because this fabric, if anyone recognize it, is from Eric Carle, the Very Hungry Caterpillar. Julie's coming to have a look. Thank you, Julie. So I thought these like green pom-pom things kind of have sort of like caterpillar vibes. So I thought that would just be kind of quite cute. And I just like printed off like from like a Word document, like big sort of like letters to trace around. And then, yeah, I sewed it like right sides together and then turned it out and top stitch it. But I have also seen people just do it instead of doing right sides together and turning it, they've just done it right sides out and just done stitching along the edge and then cut it with some pinking shears, and I think that looks okay as well. And I guess for something like this, it's going to be more decorative. Like it's probably not going to be
And I mean,
washed.
once you... Oh, this is only on one side. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think if you were doing the pinking shears technique, you wouldn't add like trim to the edge because that would look a bit funny.
Yes.
But yeah, I think for something that's not going to be washed and probably not going to be like handled very much either, like just having sort of pinking sheared edges would be fine. So yeah, I might consider doing that if I do something like this again. I think, I guess probably depending on what letter it is, maybe that doing it right sides together and then turning it out might be a bit hard. I did find, especially with the A, for if like the bit like in the middle
through the middle, like I don't know, a Q or something.
Yeah, or like that. The bit for the A in the middle was quite difficult, and so like I think the top stitching is not perfect, but like I think from far away you're not going to notice it. But yeah, so I think another one of our friends who's had a baby recently, like her name, I didn't want to show all the letters because I don't know if they're happy for their child's name to be sort of revealed publicly. But so I just had an A and a K. But yeah, I think another friend, her baby's name has an S in it, which I think might be a bit sort of tricky to turn, and also an M. So I guess with an M, just you've got like a lot of corners. So yeah, I might do the sort of pinking shear method for that one. I think I'll probably just have to get your assistance to do the pinking shears cutting for me, because an issue that I have being a crafter is that I'm left-handed, and as far as I can tell, left-handed pinking shears are not really a thing. Like I've not been really able to find.
Exist, kind of thing.
Well, I think I've suppose maybe you get them online from like a sort of specialty shop, but if I just kind of want it for like one project, if they're quite expensive, it might be better to just...
I'll be your shearer.
Yeah, you can be my pinking shearer to assist me with my left-handedness. So yes, so the sort of main thing I just have to do to finish this off, to make this able to sort of like hang up as like a room decoration, is just to I'll just hand stitch some ribbon. I've just got like some matching kind of green ribbon to hand stitch the letters to, so they can hang it up in the kids' room for like a little decoration. Because I guess kids like to have sort of like ownership, or this is my room, these are my toys, it's my cars. Kind of, they're like sort of personalizing. And then I figure also like, because they're quite big, bold, bright letters, like when he does start learning, like obviously he's turning 1 or has turned 1 yesterday, so he's a bit, got a bit further to go before he's sort of like reading and writing and stuff like that. But I guess when they start to learn like the alphabet and stuff, probably one of the first things they learn is how to write their own name. So having like big, bright, fun, like bold letters of their name and this is obviously in like a fairly sort of plain like font as well. Like it's not a real sort of like curly kind of script or whatever that would be hard for a child to read. That could be useful for them as well. And my other whip, which is a knitting whip, which is I'm using one of the project bags that I made. But so my whip is, I have started working on the lavender tea, which is what I had as a dream weaving in our previous episode. So this is like just like a summer kind of t-shirt top with this little sort of vertical lines kind of patterned with little bobbles. And so the pattern designer is, I think, Ando Leando is the name of the pattern designer's business. The pattern is only available in Spanish. It said it was supposed to be available in English by sort of like the end of September, but the English version still hasn't been published. So I used a combination of ChatGPT and my own personal Spanish translator to translate the pattern for me. So I guess if you're interested in doing this pattern, that's just something to be aware of, that it's not currently available it's only available in Spanish at the moment. So
I have to say, like, if anyone is interested in this process, like, ChatGPT did a reasonable job. So I've basically been using ChatGPT to translate the pattern just to save me some time, and then just reading through it to verify that it's accurate.
That it makes sense, yeah.
And I think it does a pretty decent job if you prompt it appropriately.
Like,
so,
if you tell ChatGPT this is a knitting pattern.
Yeah, so I think the prompt that I gave it was, I have a knitting pattern that's written in Spanish and I need to translate it into English. Please use, appropriate terminology for a knitting pattern. I can't remember exactly what I said, but if you just upload the document and say, please translate this, I don't think it would do as a very good job.
Yeah.
But if you actually tell it what the document is and how you want the output to be sort of formatted, I think it actually does a reasonable job.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I guess I should also just say the yarn that I'm using is the Fiddlesticks cedar yarn, and I believe this is the lilac colorway. So this is a cotton bamboo blend in like a sport weight. And this is actually the same yarn that I've used previously. If you've seen our previous episodes for the Heart on Fire and the Maybe Lily top, which were both sort of like cami, sort of strappy kind of tank top, summer tops. And I really like the sort of feel and the drape of the yarn. So yeah, I have got it in another colorway for my lavender top. So that's kind of my whips at the moment.
Cool. I have 3 whips, so I have 2 knitting and 1 crochet. So maybe I'll start with the knitting ones. They're both the knitting, and one's actually socks. So I think I had these as a dream weaving in our last episode. So these are the Day's Eyes, so I guess Daisy's socks, by Jess Thompson, who's Knitten Knotten on Instagram. And this, again, I tested these and the test period has now finished. And so the pattern is available. And basically it's a fairly basic sock. It has some 1x1 twisted rib on the cuff. It's got a fleagle heel and a sort of standard wedge toe. And then you basically do this kind of these eyelets throughout the sock, and then afterwards you embroider to make little sort of daisies on each of the eyelets. And so the issue that I had was running out of yarn. I guess because I did use the contrast. So I had a 120 gram sock set, which I should say as well, this is from the sock set. The yarn is from Owl of Athena. And this was a sock set that had the sort of this yellowy browny color is called Mustard Perspective. And this sort of corally pinky color is called Diary Flower. So I only had 20 grams of this color. So I used it for the cuff and the toe of both socks. And I got to, I think, so I've got 10 more flowers to embroider on this sock. And this is kind of how much I had left of the contrast color. So obviously, even if I finish this sock, not going to be enough for this sock. So I was at a knitting group, and like people were sort of giving me suggestions that maybe I could do like a fade, like start off, so stop putting more daisies on this one, just try and put, finish the leg with this, and then I could use a lighter pink or something like that. And it would mean that I would just have to unpick a few of the daisies that I'd done on the foot on this sock, or I could unpick every second one and kind of do like a checkerboard effect. To be honest, none of the ideas that included unpicking things that I'd already done really appealed to me.
Fair enough.
Because once you've embroidered them in fairly securely on the back, like it's doable to remove them, but I think it would be a lot of work. So what I was actually thinking of doing instead was to rip back the toe and reclaim
some of that.
this yarn, and I think then I would finish. I think, so in the pattern it said for the embroidery that you only needed about 5 grams of yarn. I can't quite remember exactly the quantity, but I have used way more than that. And I think it's just because I'm embroidering my daisies like a bit denser than
like I think, if you've done, say, like 20 petals
I think she
or whatever,
kind of
and they only did, like,
recommended
10.
to do like 12 petals. And like just for my personal taste,
You found it a bit sparse.
I found it looked a bit underdone. So I was doing more. So obviously, I mean, that's not a criticism of Jess. It's just I preferred a slightly different look to the daisies. But Laura of Owl of Athena has saved the day because we went to the All About Fibre and Yarn Festival yesterday, and she was there. And I think when I saw she put on her Instagram a couple of weeks ago that she was going to be there, and I said, oh, is there any chance that you would have minis in the diary flower colorway, because like I'm knitting this sock and I've run out. And she did still have some of the sock sets available on her website, but I didn't really want to buy a 120 gram sock set just to get the 20 gram mini. So, and then she said, yeah, I can, I've got doing some dyeing days in the coming week or something like that, so I'll definitely dye up some diary flower minis for you. So I was able to get another mini. So now I know I will definitely have enough to finish both socks. So yeah, these were kind of on hiatus while I was waiting to figure out how I was going to proceed, because I didn't want to keep embroidering and then like have
like just be making more work for yourself to undo.
To unpick, yeah. So now that one can come out of sort of knitting jail and go be worked on again. My next pair of socks is just kind of like a scrappy monochromatic sock. They look a bit funny at the moment because they're just like, I've done a all over 2x2 rib, just, I don't know, for a laugh. So I've just collected a bunch of green bits and bobs as scraps, and I'm knitting them sort of in tandem, so not like 2 at a time on the same needle, but 2 at a time kind of. And what I've basically done is with each of my leftovers, I'm just weighing it and then splitting it in half. So the width of the stripes are not the same within the sock, but each sock, like the 2 socks, are going to be the same as each other. And just this very light coloured green that is very lightly speckled, I have quite a lot of that. So that's why I am just randomly doing about 10 to 12 rows with that, and then adding some more of the more variegated and speckled ones. So I don't know what any of these yarns are, except I think this top one is hedgehog fibres and I think it's called UFO, but the rest of them I don't know what they are, because a lot of them are from Little Woolly scrappy packs as well. And actually I think this light one is from Rainbows and Sprinkles, and I think that one was called Nova, but I don't think she has that colour anymore. So yeah, this is just like I don't know, I just like every now and again making these monochromatic scrappy socks. It just brings me joy to put all these scraps that are kind of like in the same colour family together. And yeah, so this one I just decided to do a all over 2x2 rib, and I've decided to do a heel flap and gusset on these ones as well. So yeah, that is my 2 current sock whips. So they're my kind of public transport projects. And then my last project is this crochet baby blanket, which I did have this as a whip at our last
but you've made
episode.
Quite a bit of progress.
But the baby is no longer a whip. The baby is an FO. But my blanket is not an FO. So baby's been born. She's almost a month old, I think.
Yeah.
But I think in our last episode, I think I was maybe up to this orange bit here. So I've made quite a lot of progress. If I just kind of go.
How much more do you have to go, do you think? Like how many more colour stripes?
Yeah. So this red one here is, I've got one more row of these red V stitches to do.
Yeah.
And then I have one row of this one, the popcorn stitches to do, which I'm going to do in yellow, I think. And then I have one row, one section of these tulip stitches to do, which I'm going to do in green, and then that's done. But then obviously my very big task is going to be
sewing in all the ends.
Sewing in all of these ends, and then you crochet a border around the whole thing. So, or maybe if I hold it this way, you can kind of see the full thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with how it looks. But yeah, it's just taken me a while. But now that all my test knits are finished, I think I am pretty much sort of full steam ahead on this, just at home though. Like, I don't want to take this around with me because it's quite big now and I don't want it to get dirty, especially the white. So hopefully I can finish that in the next couple of weeks. And then,
I suppose,
I'm kind of hopeful.
It would be achievable to be finished as a Christmas gift?
Yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that I can have it finished by Christmas. And I should say, so this pattern is called the... I can't remember the exact order of the words, Baby Rainbow Sampler Blanket 2, and it's by Kirsten Ballering, who is Harkmar Rak, and I've knit the version 1 of this blanket for my, I haven't knitted, I've crocheted it for my nephew a couple of years ago, so this is version 2, and I'm using Shepya's Katona in a bunch of different colours. I'm not following her colours, I'm just doing whatever I want. So it's kind of like a rainbow, but I'm not doing it in sort of like Roy G. Biv kind of rainbow order. Just sort of randomly picking. And I think most of the colours I'm using twice. 1 or 2 of them I've used 3 times. But yeah, happy with how it's turning out so far. And I think this is actually a really good crochet project for sort of upper beginner, I guess, like
adventurous beginner.
I definitely wouldn't do this as like your first crochet project, but I think I knit, keep saying knit. I crocheted the first version of this blanket was my 3rd, I think, ever crochet project.
Okay.
Because the instructions are really comprehensive. There's photo tutorials for all the different stitches, and like you just get to learn a lot of different stitches, and the written instructions are very clear. And there's charts as well. So I think it would also be a good pattern if you want to actually learn how to read crochet charts, because you've got the written instructions and the chart that you can kind of
together
go between the two. So yeah, I think it's a good pattern for someone to just kind of dive in and give it a go. And the main modification I have made is my hook size. So I think I am using a 3mm hook, and I think the pattern recommends that you use a 3.75, but I just found for me that was just a bit loose. So yeah, that is all of my whips. So now it's time for dream weaving, and this is our final section where we talk about our plans or dreams of things that we want to make, and we also do sometimes share if any new supplies have entered our craft stash.
Yes, which I must say, I think like I have bought a lot of fabric in the last few months. So I am thinking about whether I need to commit to some kind of no-buy/low buy next year. Possibly kind of copying Anna's sort of concept of maybe to try and use up at least twice as much as what I purchase. So I think maybe, I don't know with fabric if I would do it by weight, or if I would more just say like if I use up 2 pieces of fabric, I can purchase 1 more.
Yeah, like I think with something like that, you don't want to make it too complicated and hard to follow, because then you just won't track things, and you'll can't be bothered, with this. Like I'm not super meticulous, and like for some things, if I like at one point knew what they were in my stash, but now like with those Adelaide socks, I've weighed the socks in total, but I don't know in terms of the total things in my stash, I don't know where to subtract that weight from, because some of the yarns I just don't know what they are. So yeah, I guess it's an imperfect system, but
yes.
On the whole, you can look at like the just sort of like the trend, like whether you've used up 10 grams or 5 grams of something, who cares? But it's just, I guess, the trend.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sort of just like buying stuff and like not using any of it, like, and just hoarding stuff. Like I definitely have been quite productive with sewing, but I think maybe just like the physical space that the fabric stash is taking up at the moment is getting to a point where I think it would be getting a bit hard to manage because like my house is fairly small and I obviously don't want to just have stuff flying around everywhere as well. I'm trying to keep it sort of contained within my spare bedroom.
That was the point, I guess, that I think I reached with yarn was that I like everything, but it does overwhelm me, the quantity. But I have, and to be honest, I definitely haven't stuck to that. That was my aim that I had to use 200 grams of yarn to be able to purchase 100 grams of yarn. That was my aim. I was not successful in sticking to that. However, I was saying to Pia just before we recorded this, I think if I looked at how much yarn I have in my stash at the end of this year, compared to the end of last year, compared to the end of the year before that, etc. I think this year in total, my stash, it hasn't gone down, it has actually increased, which some people might say, well, then if you were doing a no buy or a low buy, like it's a fail.
Yeah.
But I don't see it that way. My stash has increased in total by about 7 or 8 skeins of yarn over the whole year, when in previous years, it was increasing by at least 100 skeins of yarn per year. Yeah. So that is a massive change in like the amount or quantity of yarn.
The sort of rate that you're accumulating.
So even though I didn't stick to the goal that I set for myself, I still think that it was a positive change and I'm glad that I did it, and I will be trying to do the same thing again next year.
Yes.
Is what I will say.
Yeah. I think also, like I did send some links to you, I think the other day, that there is, we went to a couple of like sort of craft and fabric de-stash markets this year, and the people who organise that have advertised 2 dates again for next year. So I think I would really like to aim to get to at least one of those, not to purchase things, but actually to try and sell some things. I think just the idea of sort of like photographing and listing like individual pieces of fabric to list on sort of like a Facebook group, I find a bit overwhelming, but I think maybe just going to a market where people can see it in person and just kind of rummage through. And like I think I would probably be approaching that with a philosophy of like, I'm not trying to make money or like recover the cost of any of these supplies. I kind of just want them out of my life, kind of thing.
And if you get a few dollars in the process,
like if you ended up walking away with $50 or something like that, that would be fine. But I feel like if you say, if that's your philosophy, you just give it away for free. But then I think probably more than likely what will happen is it will just end up in someone else's stash, not being used either. Like I think if you give things away for free, that hello Julie.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will take it just because it's free
and never actually use it.
Not because they have any intended purpose for it,
Yeah.
Which you want to avoid as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get on to all the stuff that you bought. Just kidding.
So this is not all the fabric that I bought, but just a few select kind of things that I wanted to talk about. So I did purchase some fabric, and I think this actually came from a shop in Canada, because I feel like for us, for Australia, postage from the US now is like insanely expensive, but it seems like postage from Canada is still like somewhat reasonable. Like it's obviously expensive because it's international, and I know that Australia is like quite far away from everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like the same if you get
from
stuff,
like Europe
I
is
think
quite expensive.
Stuff shipped from the UK, I think the postage is not too bad, which kind of seems a bit like,
because it's like the furthest away,
a lot further away than the US, but anyway.
Yeah. So this was kind of a bit of a splurge, but I did get 2 different fabrics from, I think Fableism is the name of the designer. So this one is in the colorway, I think it's called Lavender Sachet, and it's just got sort of like it's a woven sort of design. So it has these little kind of daisies, and then this other one was just sort of like I can't remember the name of this colorway, but it's this sort of like mosaic-y kind of design. And I was thinking for these to probably just make some sort of fairly simple kind of blouse, maybe using the handsy pattern from Seamwork, which is a pattern that I have made before for our mum, which is just sort of a fairly simple like blouse of just like front and back. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for those, because I figure the sort of well, it's not a print, but like the pattern of the fabric is probably what you really want to kind of stand out for something like this. So making a pattern with frills or like pleats or something that I don't know if that would maybe like detract a little bit from the actual fabric itself, and I think I would like to just do something quite plain for the sort of design of the fabric. So yeah, that's that. Then I also have some fabric that I purchased from and this was actually the same place that I purchased this coloured fabric that I mentioned earlier in the hot off the hook section. It's in Ivanhoe, which is in the sort of like eastern suburbs of Melbourne.
Yeah, in the northeast. Or something.
Northeast, yeah. And it is called the Fabric Restore. So we'll put a link in the description. But essentially, they basically take like donations of fabric. I think they take anything that's more than 1 meter. They said anything less than a meter is just like a little bit hard for them to resell. So yeah, they take donations of fabric and then they sell it in their stores. I guess kind of like a sustainable kind of circular economy type thing. I believe they also will do sort of like a swap. So if you have some fabric to donate, that you can then basically swap for like an equivalent quantity. So that potentially is also an option, like when I'm looking through my D-stash, if I have pieces that are like big enough to take there, to potentially look at swapping them for something else. So yeah, I guess the sort of downside of something, like obviously it's, you know, good to try and be sustainable, but whatever they have is all they have. So it can, I suppose, can be a bit limited in that regard, that if you want sort of large quantities for making like a dress or something like that, it might be a little bit limited. But yeah, so I got this kind of embroidered cotton in like it's a fairly lightweight, I think it's light, it feels sort of like, I don't know, maybe sort of like a cotton voile, it kind of feels like. So it's a fairly lightweight cotton. They only had 1 meter of this though, so I will have to be sort of fairly strategic about what I want to make from this. So yeah, I'll have to have a think about that. But I just really liked the colour, and I do quite like these sort of like embroidered cottons that has like a little bit of interest, but is like all in the same colour. And then the other thing I got from there was this. This is just sort of like some quilting cotton fabric in this sort of like emerald green colour with like a fairly subtle like leaf kind of print. And what I wanted to use this for is making some more of those sort of drawstring bags as reusable gift wrap. I thought this one was quite good because it's like, I think it could be Christmassy, but I think it also is not like overly Christmassy. Like the leaves are just sort of leaves. They're not like holly leaves or like Christmas trees or anything like that. So I think it could also be used at other times of the year for birthdays or, you know, Mother's Day, Father's Day, etc. To make. I thought it would be like nice for our family to just have a few different sizes of some of these little reusable gift bags in our kind of family gifting circulation. So yeah, I'll sew up a couple of those. It's a fairly sort of quick and easy sewing project. And then the other two sort of Christmassy sewing projects that I have is at our parents' house, we have a live Christmas tree in a pot. So it's not like one of the, it's a real Christmas tree, but it's not like one of those ones that's cut off and you purchase a new one each year. It lives in a pot in the garden and then gets brought inside every year at Christmas time. And so to cover up the kind of like ugliness of this sort of like kind of dirty pot, our dad usually just wraps the whole pot in aluminium foil, like you use for cooking. I think Anna said it makes her think of like a space ship, or like, you know, like kids, if they're like dressing up as like an astronaut or whatever, would use like aluminium foil for their astronaut costume. And yeah, she just thought it looks a little bit ugly. So we thought we can probably make some sort of like fabric cover. So that I got this sort of like pine tree kind of themed Christmas quilting cotton. And my sort of thought was to make almost kind of like, I guess sort of like kind of a curtain, because I guess we wouldn't want like a sack to go underneath the pot because it has like a drip tray underneath for like, so the plant, because if it's inside for a couple of weeks, like it needs to be watered, so we wouldn't want it to be sort of like a sack that the thing sits in, but rather just sort of like a kind of like a curtain or like a skirt almost to just go around the pot with just maybe some elastic at the top and maybe some gathers. I think would just look nice if it was a bit gathered, and then probably either some sort of tie or like Velcro to just kind of secure it at the back, secure it around the pot. So
it would be quite different from the standard Christmas tree skirt patterns that you see.
That a sort of like a flat circle that goes on the floor kind of thing.
Or have like a very shallow kind of slope to them,
Yes. It would be more like a literal like skirt, or like maybe, I guess you could liken it to maybe like an apron, I guess.
Christmas
like
tree apron.
Like to tie it around. But that's just like an idea that I thought will probably be fairly easy to do and solve the problem of this Christmas tree spaceship aluminium foil situation.
Well, I guess as well when it has like tinsel and like it is kind of like a rocket shape as well, Christmas tree,
Yeah, the Christmas rocket. So yeah, it will be replaced with the Christmas skirt. So yeah, that will be something for me to do obviously before Christmas, although it doesn't have to be until right before Christmas because our family, because our dad's side of the family is German, follows the German tradition of putting your Christmas tree up on Christmas Eve, which is also handy for...
that tree would die if it was inside for
I think if you have a live tree in a pot that you can't bring it inside too early because it
wouldn't survive.
It gets sad, and I think also makes a bit of a mess.
Like it sheds all the needles.
Drops all the pine needles and stuff. And then the last little Christmassy project that I have is, this was inspired by, I think her Instagram account is Nina Loves to Sew, and she posted this sort of idea to make decorations using some quilting fabric that has gingerbread houses on it. So what she did is she like cut out the houses and then like blanket stitched it to some felt. I was gonna have a go because I guess I've got like a fair bit of fabric to work with, see if I could actually like cut a little bit around with like a bit of a seam allowance and then put it right sides together and then turn it out, see if that works. Or my other thought, because I think she just like cut it and then blanket stitched the felt, my other thought was to just like iron onto the back of this some like just sort of a light non-woven interfacing, because I think if you just had some sort of like fusible interfacing on it that would stop the edges from fraying and then attach it to the felt. And then she just sort of decorated it by like just stitching on, like I guess like, you know, where these little sort of like mint, I presume they're supposed to be like peppermint kind of lollies, so like a little bead or like a sequin or something, or like where this little green you know, ball, I don't know what kind of lolly that's supposed to be, but like add a little bead there, or like some little
I suppose you could also get like some like metallic embroidery thread and do a few embellishments or something. Yeah. And so I thought that would be nice, something nice to make, because usually each year I try and do some sort of like just very small gift for my neighbours, more as just like a gesture rather than actually like I went out and spent, you know, $100 on a gift for you, because I think that would just get a bit over the top. And also I think maybe it would just be a bit awkward as well. So usually I bake something, but I thought maybe this year I could try and sew something. And so I think that would just be like if I just made like one decoration for each of there's kind of 4 neighbours that I usually give something to. So just like a small little gift, for them. In terms of other Christmas gifts that I'm planning to make, I've got a whole bunch of ideas in my head, so we'll see how many of them actually kind of come to fruition. The main other one that I would like to make is like a little, similar to the dog walking bag that I showed earlier, which I won't get out again because Julie will want a treat again, and also I've put it over on the other table just to get it out of the way. But I would like to make something like that for the lady who comes on the days that I'm in the office and takes Julie for a walk, our dog walker Lisa. I thought that would be like a nice appropriate gift for her. And then I've got a few other plans. Some of them are in progress, some of them are still plans. Oh, well, I think all crafters are like that.
Yeah.
What's your plans? My dream weaving is really just a plan. I don't have any, well, I probably do already have, I definitely do have the supplies to make this within my yarn stash. I have just purchased, I think, 2 bundles from Sarah Shearer, who's Imagine Landscape. So she's the one who does all these different types of gnomes. I think the bundles that I purchased, each bundle has like 1 or 2 gnomes, but then, you know, like a tree, a mushroom.
I'm sorry, are these crochet?
Knitted. A house, a castle, a few different elements. So my idea was that, because our nephew, his birthday is at the end of January, was to kind of knit him a couple of different things to make him basically, I think they call them like an imaginative play set. So
yes.
like make him a set with a few gnomes, you know, a house and a castle, and, you know, maybe a few trees, so that he can then come up with whatever his own stories around these characters. And I just thought that would be like a nice thing to make for him. And all of her patterns, well, I won't say all, but I think the vast majority of particularly those gnome and the sort of imagined landscapes patterns, I think they all use sort of fingering weight yarn, and most of them are, because, you know, they have a few different colours in them, you need very, like, you know, a few grams of each colour. So they really are designed to be made with sort of small leftovers. So, I will definitely be able to kind of just stash dive. And, you know, maybe I'll break into a couple of minis. I think maybe for things like the castle and things like that, you might use a little bit more yarn if you wanted to have, like, the walls kind of all in the same colour and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I can basically make it all from my stash. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think that would be like a cute gift for him. And I think, I guess he's turning 3, so I think he is probably, he is at that age where he likes sort of making up his own stories
and his own little games. And and rather than, I guess, having like a structure, like this is how you have to play with this toy, but they can just kind of make up whatever they want. The story to be. I think I showed you before as well that the same Instagram account that I was looking at, the gingerbread house ornaments, Nina loves to sew. I think she has a sort of pattern or tutorial to make like a play mat as well. That could be something that could, and it has sort of like different, like there's a, you know, a pretend like lake on the play mat, or like some sort of like water landscape. There's like a sky section, I guess, for, you know, like things that fly, and then maybe a sort of like more like foresty type landscape. So maybe that could be something that I could look into making as well, to have like a set, I guess, like if you made the toys and I made the mat thing.
Yeah, that could be cool. So that's my dream weaving, but my main focus at the moment is really finishing that crochet blanket. So I think until I have done that, I don't really want to
start anything
new. Like a few weeks ago I was kind of itching to cast on something new, and I was like, no, just come on, finish at least one whip before you cast something else on. That's fair. So I think that's basically it for today's episode. So if you're still watching, thank you for watching the entire episode. If you did like this video or you like our channel, we always welcome people to subscribe to our channel. It makes our day when we have new people who I guess want to follow along with our crafty adventures. Liking the video is just a free way of supporting our channel, and it just helps share the video with other people who may be interested in like a craft podcast. And if you have any questions about any of the projects that we mentioned, or, you know, where did you get this material, or anything that we sort of forgot to say, you can always ask in a comment, although we do try and put as much information in the description box as possible. But yeah, we're always happy to read comments, even if you just I enjoy just people saying like what projects they were working on while they were watching the podcast. That's always nice to hear. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. Apart from our regular podcast, we do sometimes film knit and chat videos. We haven't done that for a while though, and I do sometimes do monthly crafty moments vlogs, which is where I sort of put together different
just like
bits
a
and
kind
pieces.
of a montage
Which I got really behind with doing that. So the last one I did was July, because that was when we went to Bendigo, and I think I had more than 200 clips, so it took me ages to put that together.
Oh, wow.
And then I think I just got quite behind. So I have just decided, look, I'm going to restart it for December, see how I go. So there will be a few months that just, there is no vlog of those, but that's fine.
Rest assured, we still did do craft in those.
There were many crafty moments, but they were just not vlogged. So I think I've filmed a few bits and pieces for December already. So hopefully I can put together a crafty moments vlog for December, and maybe we'll do a knit and chat in the new year or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's all for today. So thank you very much for joining us. And until our next video, we will wish you all happy stitching. Bye. Bye.